consider subscribing to our channel. It's free and helps us a ton. Thanks. Now, we'll be honest. A single video will never be enough to cover 140 plus years of historic rivalry. However, we're going to try and cover the most significant flashpoints in this derby's history, starting with the first ever time the two clubs met in the Football League in 1894 when Newton Heath beat Manchester City 5-2 at Hyde Road. The first meeting between the clubs to take place at the highest level of English football occurred in December 1906. A 3-0 City win in a first division match for which the gate receipts exceeded £1,000, a very large figure for the era. Prior to the outbreak of the Second World War, football fans in Manchester often alternated between watching City one week and United the next. However, after the war, a more intense rivalry began to take shape, resulting in a shift where it became less common for supporters to follow and cheer for both teams. For a period, Manchester United was the yo-yo club in the 30s and Manchester City were the bigger club in Manchester, especially when Manchester United struggled with finances before James W. Gibson took control of the club in 1931. Post-war, things changed. Most Manchester derbies were controversy-free, but 1970s saw the rivalry become more and more fierce. The Manchester derbies during the 1970s are remembered by two controversial incidents. In the December 1970 derby, a tackle from George Best of Manchester United resulted in City's Glenn Pardoe suffering a broken leg. The severity of the injury was so extreme that Pardoe was at the risk of losing his leg. In the following season, a highly entertaining 3-3 draw between the two teams saw Francis Lee accusing George Best of diving. Lee emphasized his point by theatrically throwing himself to the ground, highlighting what he believed to be a simulation by Best. The first derby of the 1973-74 season was a lackluster affair, ending in a goalless draw at Main Road. However, the match was not without controversy. Mike Doyle and Lou Macari each received a red card during the tense encounter. Both players refused to leave the field, prompting the referee to escort both teams back to the dressing room until Doyle and Macari accepted the dismissals. One of the most significant games from this time was the return fixture, that Dennis Law game. On the penultimate day of the season, the return fixture between the two teams took place at Old Trafford. Manchester United, in the battle to avoid relegation, desperately needed a win, although they were also dependent on Norwich City defeating Birmingham for their own result to hold any significance. After 80 minutes of play with no goals, Francis Lee passed the ball towards Dennis Law, a former Manchester United player, who was positioned with his back to the goal. Law skillfully backheeled the ball past goalkeeper Alex Stepney, scoring a goal. Remarkably, this turned out to be Law's final appearance in league football, as he subsequently announced his retirement. Manchester United supporters invaded the field for the match to be abandoned, but the result stood and Manchester United were relegated. The 80s saw City's fortunes plummet as they yo-yoed between the second and first division. Manchester United were not that far ahead either, as they too hadn't won the league since 1966-67 season during this period. 1986 saw Manchester United install Sir Alex Ferguson as their manager, replacing Ron Atkinson. City were relegated the very same season. Under Ferguson, their first Manchester derby was on 10th January 1987 when they faced each other in the FA Cup third round that United won 1-0. The 80s ended on a high for City when they won back promotion to the first division in 1989 and defeated United 5-1. But this was the last win over United for 13 years. The 90s were dominated by United. With the introduction of Premier League, Manchester United rose to the top under Ferguson, while City continued their struggle as a yo-yo club. This decade saw City fall all the way down to the third division of English football pyramid, while United became the topmost club in England. During this period, Manchester City went 16 games without winning against United, losing 10 of them across all competitions. That doesn't mean there was no drama. The first derby of the millennium in April 2001 saw a long-standing feud between Roy Keane and Alfie Haaland reach its climax. Keane was shown a red card for executing a knee-high tackle on Haaland. The origins of this feud can be traced back to 1997 when Keane, then the captain of Manchester United, suffered a cruciate ligament injury after fouling Haaland, who was playing for Leeds United at the time. During that incident, as Keane lay on the ground, Haaland accused him of feigning injury, further fueling the animosity between the two players. The game ended in a 1-1 draw, with Manchester United having already secured the league and the dropped points for City, bringing them closer to eventual relegation, which was confirmed in the following penultimate game of the season. This marked the first time in 9 years that City left Old Trafford without a defeat. Additionally, it had been 8 years since City managed to remain unbeaten against United, either at home or away in any competition. In his autobiography published in 2002, Keane openly admitted that his challenge on Haaland was a premeditated attempt to cause injury. The admission led to a £150,000 fine and a 5-match ban imposed on Keane during the autumn of the same year. In the last derby at Main Road on 9th November 2002, Manchester City, under the management of Kevin Keegan, emerged victorious with a 3-1 win. Sean Goater made a significant contribution to the victory by scoring his 100th and 101st goal for the club, while Nicolas Anelka added another goal to the tally. This result marks City's first win over Manchester United since their impressive 5-1 victory in 1989, thus concluding a 13-year winless streak for the blue side of Manchester. In the same season, City managed to secure a draw at Old Trafford, with the match ending 1-1. Once again, Sean Goater played a vital role by scoring the goal for City. This season's achievement was notable as it was the first time since the 1991-92 season that Manchester City remained unbeaten by Manchester United in any of the league meetings. Additionally, Goater had another goal disallowed due to a handball, which, if allowed, would have secured City their first double over United in a derby since 1970. It would have also marked their first win at Old Trafford since the infamous Dennis Law game in 1974. Following this near miss, City continued their success by winning the inaugural derby at the new stadium, the City of Manchester Stadium. They achieved a resounding 4-1 victory with goals from Robbie Fowler, John McKinn, Trevor Sinclair and Sean Wright-Phillips. 2005 saw the Glazers take over Manchester United. This would prove to be a flashpoint in United's history, the effect of which are felt to this day. You can watch more about it here. During the 2007-8 season, Manchester City won in both derby matches against Manchester United. The first match took place on 19th August 2007 at the City of Manchester Stadium, with City securing a 1-0 win. The second match occurred on 10th February 2008 at Old Trafford, just 4 days after the 50th anniversary of the Munich air disaster. Before the match, a 1-minute silence was observed as a mark of respect. City emerged triumphant with a 2-1 scoreline. Darius Vassell and Benjani scored for City in the 24th and 45th minute respectively, while Michael Carrick scored a consolation goal for United in the 90th minute. The remarkable achievement marked the first time since 1974 that Manchester City had defeated Manchester United in a league match at Old Trafford. It also represented the first time since the 1969-70 season that City had won both of their league derby games against United. 2008 saw another flashpoint event. This time, the Abu Dhabi United Group takeover of Manchester City. In the seasons that followed Manchester City's takeover in 2008-9, the clubs engaged in 2 fiercely contested semi-final matches, one in the League Cup and the other in the FA Cup. Prior to the start of 2009-10 season, controversy arose when City signed Carlos Tevez after his contract with United expired. Adding fuel to the fire, City erected a billboard with the phrase, "Welcome to Manchester," atop Dean's Gate, which stirred up a strong reaction. Manchester United's manager at the time, Sir Alex Ferguson, responded by referring to City as a small club with a small mentality and later dubbed them the noisy neighbours during that particular season. The famous words of Ferguson in response to whether City will ever be competitive with United were "not in my lifetime," that have come to haunt him since. The 2009-10 season witnessed several intense matches, including 2 legs of the League Cup semi-finals. Notably, Sir Alex Ferguson described the Manchester derby at Old Trafford during the season as probably the best derby of all time. In this thrilling encounter, Manchester United emerged as the winners with 4-3 scoreline. Despite Manchester City managing to equalize 3 times in the match, it was Michael Owen who secured the victory for United with a goal in the 95th minute. The match was voted the greatest Premier League game at the Premier League 20 Seasons Award in 2012. The 2 teams were drawn against each other in the semi-finals of the League Cup, resulting in 2 additional games. In the first leg, Manchester City secured a 2-1 victory after overturning a 1-0 deficit caused by Ryan Giggs' goal. Carlos Tevez scored both of City's goals to give them an advantage. In the second leg, Manchester United took a 2-0 lead with goals from Paul Scholes and Michael Carrick. However, Tevez pulled one back for City, leveling the overall tie and setting the game up for extra time. In dramatic fashion, Wayne Rooney scored a header in the stoppage time, securing the victory for United and propelling them to their 2nd consecutive League Cup final. On 17th April 2010, United faced City again in a Premier League match, winning 1-0 thanks to a 90th minute goal from Scholes. However, this victory proved to be of little significance in the title race, as United fell short by a single point behind Chelsea in their pursuit of winning the Premier League title. The old rivalry was just getting closer and closer now. During the 2010-11 season, there were 3 Manchester derbies, resulting in 1 victory for Manchester United, 1 draw and 1 victory for Manchester City. United's victory occurred at Old Trafford, where Wayne Rooney scored a remarkable bicycle kick goal. This win provided United with momentum for the remainder of the season and played a crucial role in securing their 19th league title. On the other hand, City's victory came in the FA Cup semi-final, where they eliminated United on their way to reaching the 9th FA Cup final and winning the first trophy since 1976. As a result, the Community Shield, which marked the start of the 2011-12 season, became a Manchester derby. City had won the FA Cup the same day United secured the league title. In a thrilling match, United came back from being 2 goals behind to win the Community Shield 3-2 in stoppage time at Wembley. 2011-12 season saw Manchester City winning their first ever Premier League title and the 3rd league title in all in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. The league title race remained close throughout the season, with Manchester City gaining an early upper hand when they demolished Manchester United 6-1 at Old Trafford, handing United their first loss of the season. Johnny Evans was sent off in the 47th minute when the score was 1-0. United did pull one back at 3-0, but eventually succumbed to a humbling 6-1 defeat. This was the first time City had scored 6 at the Old Trafford since 1926, and United's heaviest defeat to City since 1955, when they had lost to City 5-0. The return leg at the Etihad happened at the height of the title run-in. A Vincent Kompany header secured all 3 points for City, pegging United's title charge while keeping City in the hunt. The final day of the league, as they say, is history when both teams went in level on points. A dramatic City win over QPR with that Aguero goal won them their first league title in 44 years. There was a 3rd derby this season when City and United met in the FA Cup 3rd round that United won 3-2. United romped to a 3-0 lead by halftime, only for a 10-man City to pull 2 goals back in the second half. This game was also notable for Paul Scholes coming out of retirement when he replaced Nani in the second half. The derbies were getting more and more heated from here. 2012-13 season saw ugly scenes following a thrilling 3-2 win by United. United had gone up 2-0 via Wayne Rooney before Yaya Toure and Samir Nasri goals put them back on level terms, the latter goal coming in the 86th minute. A 92nd minute deflected goal by Robin van Persie free kick secured all 3 points for United, ending City's 37-game unbeaten run. In the midst of celebrating Van Persie's late winning goal, a fan in the crowd threw a coin that struck Ferdinand near his left eye, resulting in an injury. Additionally, another fan invaded the pitch with the intention of confronting Ferdinand, but was prevented from doing so by Manchester City goalkeeper Joe Hart, who restrained the individual. 2013-14 season saw Manchester United without the legendary manager Sir Alex Ferguson for the first time in 27 years. The first derby since his retirement saw Manchester City win 4-1 at the Etihad. The game between City and United had become much more even than in the 90s, where United were clear favourites. If anything, City were becoming more of a favourite since the takeover. 2016 saw Guardiola take over the managerial duties at the Etihad while Jose Mourinho became Manchester United manager. Fans were excited to see what the storied rivalry be like now that they were together against each other in the Premier League. The first derby since Guardiola and Mourinho joined their respective dugouts saw City winning 2-1 at Old Trafford. 2017-18 season saw City winning at Old Trafford again by 2-1. City had a chance of winning the league against United at home, leading 2-0 before United scored twice in the second half, delaying the inevitable. City eventually ended up winning the league by 19 points, scoring a total of 100 points and becoming the first and only English club to secure 100 points in an English top-flight season, with United being a distant second in the race. The late 2010s and early 20s has seen City reach unprecedented levels of success, with City having won 5 of the last 6 league titles, 4 EFL Cups, 2 FA Cups and a Champions League under Guardiola. However, the results have been closer overall, even if Manchester City have had an upper hand during this time. Manchester United did the double over City after a long time in the league in the 2019-20 season, beating City at the Etihad 2-1 before repeating the feat at home, beating City 2-0. In fact, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, United beat City 3 times in 4 league games, drawing the only other game, which is the longest United have had an unbeaten run in the league against Manchester City during this period. However, they did lose the EFL Cup ties twice to City during this time. The league run didn't last though. Manchester City won 3 consecutive derbies between 6 November 2021 and 2nd October 2022, which included the famous win at the Etihad when City demolished United 6-3 with Haaland and Foden both scoring hat-tricks. This was the highest number of goals scored in a Manchester derby ever. Manchester United did get to pull one win back when they beat City 2-1 at Old Trafford, though not without controversy when Bruno Fernandes' goal was waved off for offside but was overturned by VAR despite Rashford being in an offside position and seemingly interfering with play. The last Manchester derby happened to be the first ever Manchester derby in an FA Cup final. City scored the fastest ever goal in an FA Cup final via Gundogan in just 13 seconds. While United did pull one back through Bruno Fernandes' penalty, Gundogan scored another goal in the second half, winning the FA Cup final 2-1. But this was all the sweeter for City fans because this became part of their historic treble winning season, having won the league earlier and then winning the Champions League final in Istanbul against Inter Milan. Now, as you said, Manchester Derby is one of the oldest derbies in the world. 140 plus years of history, 190 matches. There's every chance we may have missed some significant games or encounters, even though we have tried our best to cover every important Manchester derby. As of now, Manchester United leads the head-to-head 78 games to 59 games, with 53 games being draws. The biggest margin of victory is 5 goals, Manchester United having beaten City 5-0 once in 1994, while Manchester City having beaten United 6-1 in 1926, 5-0 in 1955 and 6-1 in 2011, all of these coming at Old Trafford. United hold the longest win streak as well as the longest unbeaten streak in the derby at 8 games and 16 games respectively. Over the years, the power dynamics between the two clubs from Manchester has fluctuated. For now, it's tilted towards Manchester City, but we never know how it will be in the future. Thank you for watching. Like if you liked it, share if you find it worthy, and subscribe for more content like this. This is Salty Football.